Hey guys, welcome to the homestead. Thanks for hanging out with me today. We're going to do a lot of homemade cooking and baking all from scratch here up in northern Michigan. So we're going to be showing how grinding berries, shredding up our homemade cheddar cheese, making breakfast and dinner and pizza and all kinds of wonderful things. So thanks for being here. Make sure to like and subscribe and make a comment on one of the items that maybe you would like to make. All the recipes will be on my website, which is foodprude.com. Of course, all the links will be in the description below as well. So, first up, we had to melt some butter for breakfast and to make some rolls. But I'm making breakfast with completely sourdough discard. This is called my sourdough egg drop biscuit. Super easy. You're just going to put your discard in, put a fat in there. I'm using lard, but you could use butter as well. I also pour in some honey just for some kind of sweetness. And of course, you should make as much mess as you can with whatever flour you have. So we're using a little bit of flour just to kind of thicken it up a little bit, depending on your thickness of your sourdough discard. You may not need to actually do that. So give that a good stir and work in all the stuff. You could also put in some different kind of spices as well. You can get, I'm going to use just salt, but you can have fun. Put whatever you want in there. And this is going to be the bottom to our egg drop biscuit, which will create a crust for it. We're also going to put in some baking soda just to help make it rise a little bit, and some baking powder as well. And I'm putting in about a teaspoon of each for 2 cups of discard. But again, the recipe will be on the website, so you can print that out. Makes it much easier, right? So it's going to get a little bit bubblier. We're going to grab our cast iron pan that we melted the butter in very carefully, put it over here. Oh, look at all that delicious butter. I use butter from Azure Standard. It's an organic butter from Nancy's, I believe it is. So we're just going to go ahead and pour that into the bottom of the cast iron, get it all out, scraped out, and then we're going to put it in the oven for about 12 to 14 minutes just to create that crust on the bottom. And then in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and fill up that flour that you saw that was empty. I get flour from when I used to have a Costco membership, so I'm from Costco. I'm just using that up. And then, or now I get a lot, it all from Azure Standard along with the wheat berries, which I use a lot of. Now we're going to make some sweet honey Hawaiian rolls. Not honey, but Hawaiian rolls. And I mixed up the dough last night, and I did not do a good enough job. And you can see that that dough is just really sticky and spreading out. So I decided to not make the rolls. It would have been a nightmare. Look at that. I can't even get that. So when there is a problem, don't throw this stuff out. We're going to come up with something else that will be a second breakfast, which you will see in the end. So I just melted some more butter in my 9 by 12 pan and just spread that in there because patting those out into rolls would have been just not cool, right? Now we need to go ahead and clean everything. I like to clean things in between, especially with all that sticky dough. This is just a homemade cleaner, super easy. Lemon, vinegar, or lemon essential oil, vinegar, and water. It's in my Clean Living Handbook. That's free as well on the website. So now we got to finish up breakfast. So we're going to scramble all those eggs from those lovely hens that are just out there free roaming, doing their thing, pecking at the bugs. Mixed in some salt. There's the crust for the sourdough drop biscuit. And I'm going to go ahead and just cut up some bacon. If you had sausage is really great. Bacon is really good. If you don't want to use meat, don't use meat. No big deal. I poked the holes so that some of the egg mixture can go inside there as well. Kind of get all up in there. So, and it's not the biscuit itself is not thoroughly cooked all the way, but it's going to go back in the oven for a while. And then you see I'm going to add a good layer of bacon on there because we raise our own little porkers and we cure our own bacon, so why not? And I put some onion on there. You can do any type of vegetable. You can add a bunch of vegetables, whatever. And it looks very full with all those eggs in there, but it will be just fine. And I'm using a 9-inch cast iron skillet there. Of course, we're using our homemade cheddar cheese. Use the rest of that up. Put that on top, bake it for a little bit longer. And here we go. We're going to serve it up for breakfast. Look at that. It's nice and hearty, delicious, using all homemade scratch stuff from scratch. So now I'm going to use my Mock Mill 100 and grind up my wheat berries. I get these from Azure Standard as well. I get the red wheat berries. Those are my favorite. It really lends a really delicious, I guess like a nutty flavor to the breads, and it just is really good. So we're making pizza for lunch. So we pulled that out of the sourdough as well. You can see that it's stretching and pulling back. So if it's stretching and pulling back, that means the gluten is not relaxed enough. So just kind of pat it out, let it stretch back, and then come back 10 minutes later. Try it again. You might have to do it a couple times depending how impatient you are. And then so we go ahead and poke some holes in there, and we're going to let that rise. And then along to go along with the pizza for lunch, I'm using some leftover sourdough sandwich bread, melted some butter on there. You see a butter theme going on? I sure do. Melting some butter, and then we're going to use some garlic salt on there, just so we have a little extra along with the pizza. So I need to get some cheese. So this is my homemade cheddar cheese for my cheese course. This stuff is so good. We use it for absolutely everything. It's the only cheese. There's my head too. But I need to get it shredded. I hand shred it sometimes, or I will use this KitchenAid food processor. That really helps speed up. So I pre-baked the dough for about 10 minutes and brought it back out. And now I'm adding the homemade pizza sauce on there. Make some awesome pizza. You can see there's some uncured pepperoni that I get from Meyer, which that was probably our last pack. We don't really buy that stuff anymore. And then we're just going to get that cheese on there. And then we're going to bake it. And we made 2 of them. And just to be nice and healthy, we're going to go ahead and use some of our stuff that we have bought or we have either grown in the garden, because we grow a lot of stuff. But for fresh stuff, sometimes we have to buy it if it's the winter time, unfortunately. But we're going to have some side salad to go along with our pizza and our homemade garlic breadsticks. Now for dinner, I am using Stacy's tortilla wraps from Azure Standard, and I mix together chicken, rice, refried beans, and the homemade taco seasoning. And this will be our chicken burritos, bean burritos for dinner. So I'm just kind of getting them put away, and I'll bring them back out and bake them. So here's that mess of a Hawaiian roll. Oh, Hawaiian. Yep. So I baked it.